Soul Garden.
Hello, my fellow soul gardeners, and welcome now to Just Ask Chris, where I answer your questions here live in Soul Nirvana. And we are up to now, I think, Darlene. I had to look at my notes. Went blank there for a second. Darlene's question. It was kind of passed and went back and forth. Darlene asked actually a really interesting question, which has to do with what we call Lilith rage. Lilith, like Lilith fair, but on a bad day, right? And this is one of those really little nuances of astrology that are paid attention to, but the masses are not well enough educated about astrology to get to this point. So clearly, Darlene, you are. Lilith is technically an asteroid, but there's also this whole other direction with Lilith that talks about the black moon, which is a dark spot in your chart. And Lilith, the asteroid, is a dark spot in your chart. It's not really dark. Now, your Lilith falls into your first house, and you talked about your Lilith rage as far as being your first house and tied to your ego, and Pluto is conjuncting your ascendant in the 12th house. So let's talk about it. Well, wherever Lilith is in your chart, basically think of it as slippery ice. That's really what the Lilith point is. The black moon or the asteroid is slippery ice. So when a planet crosses this point, your soul has an issue of venting steam in that spot. It's where it's kind of like steam coming out of the ground, wherever Lilith is. So yours is with your ego. And it does represent where there are past life, subconscious, painful resentments. It's definitely a steam release valve. And it has nothing to do usually with where it is. In your case, Darlene, that's not the case. If Lilith is in the 5th house, for instance, it is your inner child that releases steam. So you got a person there who is child temper tantrum, past life inner child issue there, and they're going to be releasing steam. Is it necessarily about a damaged child? No. It's just through creativity, through the inner child. That's where you're going to express it. In your case, you express it by blowing up in your ego. And you do have an ego issue, though, that goes on top of the Lilith point, because you have Pluto conjuncting your ascendant. So Pluto says Darlene already has ego issues, and every so once in a while, when a planet crosses Lilith, you do a little bit of a steam release. The point is to get to the core of what you're releasing and to get past the idea that you need to release. When that spot gets hit, you could be an egomaniac. And with Pluto conjuncting your ascendant, Darlene, you've got ego issues. You put off your ego, and you are learning to create a nice, refined ego. It takes time and it takes practice. So when you see a planet like the moon, the sun, or any major planet hitting for that spot, you'll know that you need to let off some steam. You could be proactive about it, and you could find good ways to do it. And when you are letting off steam, it's more important to look at what's bugging you underneath. Because what's happening the moment the person that triggered it, the circumstance that triggered it, non-applicable. It's that it was an excuse for lightening the strike. And that's what Lilith does. Hope that helps you. The next question is Benjamin, who is an Aquarius, working with another Aquarius in the same office. I think his Aquarius is his boss. And he's trying to evolve, but it seems that every time he evolves, the Aqua is in resistance to seeing him evolve. So he's feeling stalemated in his working situation. And he's asking for advice on how to deal with Aquarians in that regard. Well, that's a very good question, very unique, Benjamin. Recognize that the most important thing for an Aquarius is the right to be an Aquarius, to be who you are. So what I recommend you do is not focus on him. And this might be a little lesson about you, how you allow your own individuality and uniqueness to be affected by someone else. Now, you probably are more affected by this guy because he's an Aquarius. It's one thing to be individual iceberg, going to be who I want to be when everyone around you is like very different. It's not always easy to claim your individuality when there's someone that's like 85% like you but making different choices across the hall, right? So this is definitely a challenge for you. I would just focus on you. And I would definitely focus on reinforcing that you don't care who he is, you don't care what he does, you don't care what his decisions are. And really kind of like support this idea that everyone is an individual, everyone has a right to be there, to be a freak, everyone has a right to their own path. This is mine, what's yours? You might also start asking him, what do you think? What are your opinions? What do you believe in that? just to get him clarifying and just kind of show in the physical how different you guys really are. And it's okay for you to be who you are. The more you respect him's uniqueness, the more in the psychology of the situation, he has no choice but to do one of two things. Either blatantly disrespect you after you have respected him, or he's going to just go ahead and respect you. But aquas need the freedom to be individuals, and they need freedom. So the more freedom the space can give, the more honesty around individuality you can give, and the more privacy, let him be freaky on his own. I think it'll alleviate the situation. But in a big picture perspective, you're locked in the room with a mirror relationship. This is another aqua, making different choices. And what you're doing here is you have kind of like a mirror to test stuff out. So it is a blessing in disguise, in my opinion. All right, folks, that wraps up another episode of Just Ask Us. Benjamin, Darlene, I hope I helped you. Make sure you post your questions, folks, beneath this video window. I look forward to answering them soon. And until then, live, love, be.